Hello, sports fans. It's week 5 of high school and college football. Fall is out absolutely here with all the rain going on today, so hopefully it clears up for tomorrow night's football games. What have you been up to, Jim?
Well, I took a little vacation to Arizona, recharged the batteries, kind of gained a little lead here in our picks, and glad to be back and making some more picks.
They shouldn't have counted. We should have taken Laura's picks to count as yours, but we have no rule book here, so we won't.
I am glad Jordan emailed me the thing to make my picks in Arizona, so kudos to Jordan, might have won him lunch.
First game up is East versus West. I think this will be a pretty good game, but I think East will win this game.
East took a pretty good beating from Northwest, but I think they rebounded and win this game.
Next up is Capon and Southeast. Capon's on quite the roll. They're playing really well. I'm picking Capon.
Capon's a really intriguing team. Weston Charts, he does really good in the regular season. Playoffs, not so much. So I'm curious to see if he can carry this over to the playoffs. But I'm picking Capon.
Next up is Goddard and Eisenhower, crosstown rivalries. Neither one playing real good right now. Eisenhower is playing better, I think, than Goddard. So I'm taking Eisenhower.
I should pick Jordan's alma mater, Goddard, but it's at Eisenhower, so I'm going to go with the Goddard-Eisenhower team.
Next up, we got Derby and Hutch. I don't think anybody's going to beat Derby until maybe the playoffs or state championships. So I'm taking Derby.
Agreed, going with the Panthers.
Next, we got Maize South and Newton. Maize South is on a roll. They're playing really well right now. Newton has had a tough schedule. They've been in games, but it's at Maize South. I'm taking Maize South.
I'm going to go with Maize South, too, and I'm really looking forward to that Maize South Maize game.
Next is Maize and Salina South. Maize got beat last week.
That surprised me.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of some vulnerability there with Maize, I think, going on. Salina South is not very good at all. So I still see Maize winning this game.
I think Maize is going to bounce back. They do have that top-tier quarterback in Avery Johnson. I think they rebound in this game.
Next, we got Campus and Northwest. Northwest has been kind of up and down a little bit this year, but I think they'll handle Campus.
Coach Martin has a young team. They are up and down, penalties and turnovers, but the thing they do have is a lot of talent, and I think coming to the end of the year, they're going to be there, and I think they'll beat the Colts. Next
up, we got Heights and Andover. I think this is going to be a really good game, one of the better games on the schedule. Andover barely lost to Maize first game of the season. They've been on a roll ever since. I'm taking Andover in this game.
This was one of the tougher games to pick. What's going to be interesting is we go out to Heights tomorrow to make some picks on Channel 12. And we'll have to see if our picks change when we're out there.
It's going to be interesting.
For the Jeff and Jimmy show, I'm going with Andover.
Next up, we got North and Bishop Carroll. This isn't going to be a game, unfortunately. North is struggling again this year, so I'm taking the Golden Eagles.
I'm going with Carroll as well. They played Derby pretty good.
Yeah. Next, we got South High Titans and Pittsburgh. I don't know much about Pittsburgh. South has been kind of up and down so far this year, but I'm taking the hometown team, and I'm taking South.
I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. That's a pretty good road trip for South, so I'll give Pittsburgh the home field advantage.
Next up, we got Mulvane and Coffeyville. Don't know much other than Coffeyville hasn't won too many games yet. Mulvane's actually been playing pretty decent. So I'm going to take Laura's alma mater and pick Mulvane.
Mulvane's had a rough couple of years, but I think they're bouncing back this year, and I'm going to go with them as well.
Next, we have Andover Central and Valley Center. Andover Central's on a roll. They're looking really good. I think they're ranked number 2 in 4A. So I'm taking Andover Central.
Central's legit. I'm going with them as well.
Next up, we got Cheney and Pratt. I think this is going to be another good game. Pratt has had some up and down seasons. They were really good a couple years ago, and then were not very good last year, and they're winning some games this year. But I still think Cheney's going to be too strong.
I'd like to see Cheney win. Both these teams are undefeated, but it's in Pratt, so I'm going to give them the little advantage on that.
Next, we got Collegiate and Trinity. I'm taking Collegiate.
Yeah, no-brainer, Collegiate.
Then we have Andale and Heston. Andale's on a roll again. They're playing really well. They've replaced a lot of starters last year, but they really haven't missed a beat.
Yep.
So I'm taking the Indians.
I agree. Players graduate and they seem to replace them. They're not missing a beat. I'm going with Andale.
Next up, we have Garden Plain and Chaparral, which is another game that I think is going to be very good. Both teams have, I think, one loss. Both are playing really well, but I'm taking the Owls of Garden Plain.
I agree. This is another one of the tough ones this week, but I agree with the Sheriff. I'm going with the Owls.
Last high school game is El Saline and Sedgwick. Sedgwick's on a roll. They've been playing really well. I'm going to ride that horse. I'm going to take Sedgwick.
I agree. Don't really know much about El Saline, and Sedgwick is good.
first of the college games is Texas and TCU, and that's a game that you picked up on me. I predicted Texas Tech to win, and hell, they were down 41 to 12 or something in the first half. So I'm going to take Texas.
Does this one hurt you a little
Yeah,
bit?
it hurts a lot.
I don't like picking them either, but they switched quarterbacks and they're playing pretty decent. So
Yeah. Next up, we got Kansas and Iowa State. This isn't going to be a game. Iowa State's going to run all over them, I think.
I agree, but I will give Kansas a shout out. They do seem like they're starting to get a little bit better. I think they got the right coach in place, and give them some time. But
And most of the games have been in the game first half.
Yep.
It's the second half that they've kind of faltered. So it's better than last year because they faltered the first half and the second half last year. So we got Texas Tech at West Virginia. West Virginia's playing well.
Yep.
And they almost pulled off the upset against Oklahoma last week. So I'm taking West Virginia. They're at home.
I agree. They beat Virginia Tech. They played OU strong, so definitely going with the Mountaineers.
Then we have Baylor and Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State has won the last couple games. They beat K-State last week semi-handily.
Yeah.
And they're at home, so I'm taking the Cowboys.
I watched a lot of that Baylor-Iowa State game last week, and they looked pretty good, but I'm going to give Oklahoma State the slight edge.
Big game of the week is Oklahoma and Kansas State.
This is the big game of the week.
Absolutely. Oklahoma's ranked. K-State's coming off of a loss. They got some revenge to take out on the old Sooners. Again, I'll say it probably all season, but I think it will, by mid-season to late season, it will come out that Oklahoma had been overranked for way too long.
Agreed.
So it's in K-State. K-State's been playing Oklahoma really well the last 3 years. They seem to have their number the last couple years. Unfortunately, we won't have our quarterback playing in it, so we'll have to rely on the backups again. But I think K-State can upset them. I'm taking K-State.
I like your pick. I think K-State, traditionally every year they play well out of conference. They come into conference play usually 3-0 or something, but then they get into conference play and the usual happens. They lose 3, 4, 5, 6 games. They do play Oklahoma really tough. I think they beat them last year, but even with Oklahoma being down this year, I think the Sooners will win this one.
You want to take the last game?
I do. Nebraska, the big guys. Nebraska, if you've been watching, they're starting to play better. You might not even want to say it, but they are. They were competitive with Oklahoma. They should have won that game. They really should have beat Michigan State. They held them to 15 yards and no first downs in the second half and still managed to lose, which I don't know how you pull that off. But
It's Nebraska.
it's something. But this game's at home. They are starting to play better, so I'm going with my Huskers. And now?
Well, yeah. You know what? They have. I would agree they have been playing better, but again, Oklahoma's overrated. Barely could beat a bottom rung Big Ten team. Nebraska loses to Michigan and held them to 15 yards and no first downs and still manages to lose.
I don't know how they did that.
I'm taking Northwestern. I just don't see Nebraska winning too many more games this year. So
It's very interesting because we differ on those last 2 games. The spread could get a little
spread
further.
could get a little further. And what he's referring to is Jim's leading with wins and losses 90-21, and I'm at 85-26. But we have a long season
We do.
ahead of us.
And this is just a friendly competition.
Just friendly. So, well, hopefully the rain holds off and everybody can get out and enjoy those football games and go Wildcats. Have a great weekend.
You surprised me with that one.